our home in Sydney on the traditional lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We acknowledge their elders past, present and emerging. My name is Lisa, this is my husband Graham and our beautiful girls Etta and Nellie. We're glad that you can join our family tonight to start off the NIF event with some candle lighting on the first night of Hanukkah.
Tonight's event will bring some beautiful music from some of Israel's most talented and celebrated musicians, Noah and Mira Awad, as well as inspiration about their activism to bring Jews and Palestinians together and work on peaceful solutions to the conflict. Hanukkah is a wonderful time to bring more light and joy into the world, something which is surely much needed this year. And we're sure tonight's event will leave us all more hopeful about a better future for all.
Please join us as we light the candles together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher tishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim la'avotenu v'yomotenu bayamin hachem bazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehiyanu v'himanu v'hiyanu lazman hazeh.
Now you can eat chocolate. 5 chocolates.
Now you can have 5 chocolates.
Thank you, Lisa, and your wonderful family for starting us off tonight with some candle lighting for the first night of Hanukkah. My name's Liam Getreu. I'm the Executive Director of the New Israel Fund in Australia. And I'll join them in welcoming everyone to what promises to be an inspiring and uplifting evening of music and discussion with the incredible Mira Awad and Achinoam Nini and Gildor as well. A quick intro to NIF before we begin for people who are joining their first event with us. We're a partnership of Israelis and diaspora Jews who are committed to upholding the values of Israel's Declaration of Independence, of an equal, just and democratic society for all its inhabitants. Over the last 40 years or so, this is actually NIF's 40th anniversary, people in the NIF community in Israel, the United States, Canada, the UK, Switzerland, and of course here in Australia have sent more than $500 million in support to Israeli civil society organizations. Projects we've funded have ensured that every kid gets a good education, that people seeking asylum aren't locked up in detention centers, that Palestinian Israelis are treated equally and have the same rights as Jewish Israelis, that immigrants from Ethiopia and the former Soviet Union don't experience discrimination in the workplace or in courtrooms, and that we work together with Palestinians in the West Bank to end the occupation. Like I said, it's a privilege tonight to bring you music and discussion with these two iconic Israeli performers. We're going to be mixing some music and conversation tonight. But before we dive into the music, I just want to introduce both Mira and Noah. Mira is an award-winning actress, singer, songwriter, teacher, composer, and cultural activist. She's released 2 solo albums and collaborated with many international artists, including Idan Reichel, Andrea Bocelli, Bobby McFerrin, and more. As an actress, Mira participated in numerous theatre productions, as well as starring on the popular Israeli TV series Arab Labor, Avodah Aravit, which, if you haven't seen, is one of the most brilliant, funny, really excellent Israeli TV shows, so I can definitely highly recommend watching that one. Mira is also a member of NIF's International Council. Achinoam Nini, many of you will remember from when she came to Australia on her first ever tour, had sold out events with NIF Australia, is one of Israel's leading international singer-songwriters, having shared the stage with superstars like Sting, Quincy Jones, Stevie Wonder, also Andrea Bocelli, and also many others, with her long-standing collaborator Gildor, who you'll see in a minute as well. She's released over 15 albums in 6 languages and has sold millions of copies around the world. Noah's on the board of the New Israel Fund as well. And together, you may know them from their very wonderful and famous performance as Israel's contestants at Eurovision 2009 in Moscow, which was the first time a song had been sung at that competition in English, Hebrew, and Arabic. So much of their work as individual artist activists, or I'm told as Mira likes to call herself an artivista, as well as collaborators to promote peace, equality, and justice. Not at all coincidentally, of course, these are also the core values of the New Israel Fund, and so that's why they're so dear to our heart. Like I said, we're going to be mixing music and discussion tonight, so we're going to start with some music. Noah and Mira and Gil, please take it away.
Shalom, everybody.
مساء الخير.
Hello. Good evening. Can you see us?
בוקר טוב, יום טוב,
Yeah.
ערב טוב.
It's Boker Tov here, but it's Erev Tov. It's good evening in Australia. And we're so happy to be here with you, everyone. We're going to start, we're going to talk a lot later. So just going to start with these two songs, and I will introduce them because they're actually Mira's songs, beautiful songs Mira has written. The first one is called A Word, and the second we're going to kick right into after A Word is a beautiful song, a poem originally by Mahmoud Darwish that Mira wrote music to. And
Noah did a wonderful English translation.
I did the English translation, and we're going to sing it in Arabic and in English. Gil, take it away. Woo! A word about tomorrow before we drown in sorrow. I am afraid can no longer hide the pounding of my poor heart inside.
كلمة عن بكرة قبل ما نصير مجرد ذكرى. أنا بخاف ما بخبي هالدقات بتوجع قلبي.
You need to find someone to take the blame. I guess I'm doing just the same.
I'm doing just the same. We're so alike. We've been hurt before. I don't wanna do it anymore.
A word now about the doubt that keeps you from reaching out and touching me, touching me. A word now about the doubt that keeps you from reaching out and touching me, touching me. Gilly, woo! מילה
كلمة
על מחר
عن بكرة
לפני
قبل ما
שיהיה מאוחר. אם אפחד
أنا بخاف
לא אסתיר כל פעימה שהלב מחסיר.
بتوجع قلبي.
A word now about the doubt that keeps you from reaching out and touching me, touching me. A word now about the doubt that keeps you from reaching out and touching me, touching me. Yeah, it was fun. All right, this one is called "Think of Others." Gildor, you want to go ahead? "Think of Others" is the second song, and it starts with you. It's up to you, baby.
Our dear friend, God, sorry, Frank.
What did God ask?
mentioned I need to be closer to the
Closer
mic when I speak.
when you sing. All right, all right. Okay,
And God is one of us.
that's right. God is among us. God Torah Franca is our sound engineer.
وأنت تعد فطورك فكر بغيرك لا تنس قوت الحمام. وأنت تخوض حروبك فكر بغيرك من يطلبون السلام. وأنت تسدد فاتورة الماء فكر بغيرك من يرضعون الغمام. بيتك فكر بغيرك لا تنسى شعب الخيام وأنت تنام وتحصي الكواكب فكر بغيرك من لم يجد حيزا للمنام وأنت تحرر نفسك بالاستعارات فكر بغيرك من فقدوا حقهم في الكلام وأنت تفكر بالآخرين البعيدين فكر بنفسك قل ليتني شمعة في الظلام ليتني شمعة في الظلام.
When you prepare your evening meal, think of how the others feel. Don't forget to feed the hungry dove. When you wage your wars with guns, think of all the other ones, those who still believe in peace and love. When you pay for running water, think of someone's son or daughter, nursed by clouds beneath the starry dome. When you return from work tonight, think of others and their plight, those who live in camps but dream of home. When you lay your head to rest, dreaming deep, remember those who had no place to sleep. As you let your words run free in rhyme or tongue in cheek, remember those who've lost their very right to speak. And as you think of others far away, think of yourself and say, if only I could be a candle in the dark, I wish I were a candle in the dark. If only I could be, if only I could be a candle in the dark. If only I could be, if only I could be a candle in the dark. ليتني 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 شمعة في الظلام لو هيتي never If only I could be, if only I could be a candle in the dark.
Back to you, candles in
Back
the dark.
to you.
Wow.
NIF is definitely a candle
that
in
was
the dark.
really amazing. Thank you so much for opening our event with that. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to start. I will also say, which I neglected to mention before, that everyone who's watching on our website has a little ask a question box on the right. And if you do have a question while we're talking tonight, feel free to put it in there and we'll see how many we can get to. I want to start by asking both of you how this collaboration started. It's so wonderful to hear English, Hebrew, Arabic, all of these different languages that you hear walking down the street in Israel. It's wonderful to hear it encapsulated in music. How did your collaboration begin together?
You want to start?
I'll begin.
Maybe Gail should
Gil,
start.
yeah, but you got to get close to the mic.
That's a good point for me to start, actually, because the way it happened is that around 2000 Noah and I were preparing for our next international album. In that case, it was Now, and we were looking for a collaboration with an Israeli Palestinian singer to do our own version of the Beatles' "We Can Work It Out." And we just thought that it would be a perfect text about a lyric talking about a possible resolution of a conflict. I mean, it's really obvious, but nobody have used that song for this until then. So we thought we have a first, and of course it would be great to sing it with somebody speaking Arabic, and you know. So we were looking for somebody and just thinking about it, and then I saw Mira on an interview with very famous today Yair Lapid, who used to be a TV host at that time, and now, of course, is the head of Yesh Atid. We shall still see how much of an Atid we have, but with him or without him anyway. But Yair was interviewing Mira about her very, very, I think it was a claim to fame in Israeli society. Of the first Arab Israeli singer who got the main role at My Fair Lady, in Hebrew, Gvirti Hanava, singing and playing, acting Liza Doolittle. Now, they were talking about it, and I was flabbergasted. I said, wow, what is this? This beautiful woman who sounds so eloquent and so intelligent is actually singing in the Kamari, in the Israeli Chamber Theater, the role of Liza Doolittle. I never heard her sing, not even one note. But then I called Noah and I said, I just watched this girl on TV. We're talking about the year 2000, and we have our collaborator for this song, and she said, how does she sing? And I said, I don't know. I said, you never heard her sing? I said, no. So how come you recommend her? What are you nuts? And I said, well, if she's on Yair Lapid, she's Liza Doolittle in the Chamber Theater, and she is as brilliant as she sounds talking, then we definitely have a friend here. And
so I talked my way into your lives, guys.
That's right.
I didn't even sing.
You never even stopped. You never stopped.
I talked my way into your lives.
And then Noah called Mira, and the rest is Mira's.
Oh my God!
History.
Yeah, it was funny because it's 20 years ago, and I get this phone call while I was pushing my cart in the supermarket, and this girlish voice asks me, I don't know if you know me. My name is Achinoam Nini, and I started laughing. And she was like, why are you laughing? I'm like, who doesn't know you, girl? And we met immediately in my Tel Aviv apartment, the chemistry was quite immediate.
Right.
We immediately had these two voices figured out, and that's it.
Yeah.
And the rest is history, as they say.
We just have to say that it's an anecdote, but it's an important story. And the reason is because most people know Noah and Mira's collaboration from the Moscow Eurovision in 2009. And I think it's important to know that this is started as an underground, intense collaboration 9 years before. So by the time we got to the Eurovision affair, it was obvious who we want to, how we want to present Israel at that stage.
Yeah, I think maybe the important message to convey here is that our collaboration, I think all the worthwhile ones are the deep, long-term ones, the ones that are real. They're not plastered together or sort of like premeditated just to make a point, and then they dissipate. With us, we're celebrating 20 years of friendship and collaboration, and still going strong. Actually, I have to say that Mira, in addition to her prodigious talents as an actress and a singer and a songwriter, is also a talented screenplay writer and video maker and editor and everything. and actually, Gil and I have a new jazz album coming up. And Mira is going to be doing she already did a video for us, a beautiful song a few weeks ago that we could talk about women's, battered women and women's rights. Very haunting, and she did an amazing video. And now she's going to be doing all the video material for our new album. So we're finding interesting ways to continue this collaboration beyond the years and beyond time, and in different, and really make it intense and real. And we're very privileged that way.
I want to talk a little bit later about kind of the macro issues in Israeli society around Jewish-Arab partnership and shared society. But on an artistic level, is it hard to collaborate both across cultures and when there is this macro question in Israel that's developing? Is it hard do you speak past each other sometimes? How do you resolve those things? We do spend a lot originally. Just, Michelle, tell me what camera to look at so I don't feel silly. Can I look at my own camera? All right. We're not going to be solving all the problems between us here. That's not possible. We do spend a long time talking about things and learning from each other and enriching each other with different points of view. And we try, maybe this is an important point to make.
we were criticized in the past for, Mira was told that she was a fig leaf covering up the problems, and I was criticized for representing Israel with the enemy, and all those kinds of things. And what we always say is that what we're trying to first of all, we're friends on a human level. Forget the whole thing. We just like each other and we hang out with each other. Artistically, we have a lot of shared interests and much in common and passions and curiosity. And so that's the first thing and the important thing. That's the reason this collaboration has lasted for so long, because it's first of all on a human artistic level, it's viable. And then beyond that, I guess we're showing in some ways what can possibly be. It's like we're projecting ourselves and our art into the future and showing a scenario that we can all strive for. If the situation here were better, things like these would happen a lot more. They would be natural. There wouldn't be so many questions asked about them. It would just be people communicating and talking and just living their lives. And I guess that's our greatest dream, to be able to just live our artistic lives and personal lives without all these big looming questions above us. So I guess we're actually presenting a vision for the future that is, I think, a beautiful one that people can strive for.
The thing is, the minds are there. It's a minefield living in this place with these different narratives. And when we first met, these 20 years have done magic, for us to learn about different narratives and how to live with a different narrative. I remember the first time Achinoam called herself Zionist. I was taken aback. I was like, "What? You call yourself Zionist? What do you mean?" I was having trouble with that. No, of course, because my narrative says that the Zionist kicked my father out of his village, So these minefields, we kind of walked through them because of the patience and the will and the intelligence, I think, to open up and hear a different narrative and be patient through it and hear the difficult things. And I remember when we first talked about the
army.
IDF, the army, and sending your children to the army.
Yeah.
So the minds are there. The problems are there. It's not that we in our
Ignore
friendship ignore them or we don't see them. That's the big thing. Also, people think that we're like living in this flower, world and hugging trees and thinking that everything is beautiful and we're friends and everything. We see it. We know how problematic it is, how difficult it is sometimes for the other person to hear something or to know something about our own narrative. But this is it. We stay in the room and we talk about it. And I think when you're open to hear about somebody else's narrative, the true story behind what happened, there's always a way to walk out of the room as you don't have to be in love with each other. Just don't kill each other.
For a while.
It's a low bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Last night in Israel there was the premiere of a new series or sequel of 2 or 3 parts, I don't know, about Lebanon. And it's really interesting because one of the speakers for a moment was Tom Friedman, who you all know, I'm sure. Who writes for the New York Times.
And actually did an event for us
said
just
something.
about 6 weeks ago.
Wait, he was saying something. What?
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. You can keep going.
Yeah.
And Tom Friedman was saying that one of the problems of the whole area, of course, he spent a lot of time in Beirut and in Israel, and he said that there is a fantasy on both sides that sometimes comes back to life, and that is a very dangerous fantasy. And the fantasy is that, maybe we can have it all. Each side with its own extreme agendas, maybe we can have it all again. And that leaves a trail of suffering and blood and whatever. And I remember that in the middle 80s, I was a dean of curriculum of this new school, the Rimon School of Music. Where
we were both students.
Where Mira and Noah were students, and I was one of the founders. And one of our first international guests was Tom Friedman. He came to the campus of Rimon School of Music in, I think it was 86, right from Beirut. He was he was writing his book From Beirut to Jerusalem, famous book, and he have a couple of pages dedicated to his visit in Rimon, where he interviewed myself and other guys. And the point was, it was a crazy moment because some of the students, like Dave that we know so well, were soldiers in Lebanon, and they were involved in fighting and then coming to play rock guitar in Rimon School, which was sort of an Apocalypse Now scene or something like that. But Tom really nailed it. he nailed it. And the whole series about Lebanon nails it. It's just, we have so many narratives, conflicting narratives, and as long as we don't just relax and listen and embrace each other's narrative,
Yeah, I'd like to say
that's
about
it.
that.
Then we're there. And Tom wrote about it then, and he's still saying it now. And of course, he's one of the important voices in world journalism. And we all subscribe to this from instinctively.
I'd like to add to that and say that sometimes people think that if they accept someone else's or listen to someone else's narrative and accept it as true, they need to cancel their own, or their own will no longer be relevant or appropriate
legit.
or legitimate. And that is not true, in my opinion, in our opinion. You can hold on to yours, maybe, make it a little bit flexible, maybe calm it down, as we'd say. Don't think of an absolute anything. And at the same time, accept the other. I think that the absolutes are the big issues. The absolute truth, absolute justice, absolute victimization, all of those things. Once we are able to dissolve those absolutes and think of something more accommodating or more just a collaboration, then things become more feasible. And I think that that's our only way.
Noah became my teacher in one important word. She says, learn to apologize. With your three things. But,
I once said
when you have so great difference, it seems like, how can I live with what I find out? Okay, when needed, say, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I once had to write an article for an Italian. They asked me to write a short article encapsulating my view of the situation. I said, well, if I had to summarize how I see things can be theoretically resolved in 3 words, I would say recognize, apologize, share. And those 3 words, I think, say, first of all, you have to recognize, you have to see the other, you have to listen to their story, you have to recognize their truth, just as you are eager to have your own truth recognized. And the second thing you have to do is apologize. I think people think that if they apologize, it takes something away from them, from their self-respect, from their honor, from their stature. Where I feel it is exactly the opposite. If you need great courage and strength in order to be able to apologize, to say I'm sorry, and that is a sign of I think of nobility in a person and in a nation. So apologize; it'll only do you good. And the third thing you have to do is share, and that goes back to the absolutism. You're going to have to share. You have to compromise. There's just no other way. So and with these 3 things, I think we have a chance for a better future.
We were very. I was going to say, we were very lucky. About 6 weeks ago, we had Thomas Friedman do an event for NIF Australia. We had about more than 1,000 people, I think, in the end, come to that. And if I was within reach of my copy of From Beirut to Jerusalem, I would flick through and find the reference to Rimon for sure. Before we get to some more music, I want to hone in a little bit on the idea that artists have a unique ability to impact political discourse and a unique ability to sway things. And so just a kind of very quick maybe way to set you up to talk about this a little bit more is, why do you personally feel that you had the ability to impact politics? Why is it important for you to talk about it? And when did that moment happen where you realized that you could have that impact? And what I'm actually most interested in maybe is, how do you speak to your artistic peers who maybe are less politically active and try to get them more involved in exactly the discussion that we're having now?
Well, I'll start by saying that I do not ever try to convince any artist of being political. I
agree.
have to say.
I agree.
Because we personally know the huge price for that. So I actually never advise my peers to do it, because I know the risks that are involved, and I wish them well. I don't wish them unwell. So that's first of all. Whoever the issues are burning within, they're going to say something, they're going to do something. And if they are capable of living with themselves without expressing their views, then maybe they should keep on doing that. It's safer for the profession and for the career, for sure. Now, the second thing, I don't personally feel that I have a capability or the ability to really change reality, but I do feel an obligation to try. So that's a big difference. It's not that I'm megalomaniac thinking that when I wake up in the morning and I write a song, I'm going to change people's views or the government or whatever. No, but I have this uncontrolled obligation feeling inside that I need to say what I can in the ways that I can, which are any artistic expression. And I am a multidisciplinary artist, and these things are expressed in everything artistic that I do. Somehow I find myself always working on things that are somehow connected to social themes and agendas, because then it makes more sense for me. I don't know how to do something that is disconnected from worrying for the world, right? I just don't have it in me. I'm not that commercial kind of person. I wish I was, right? I wish I was. So it's something that is burning inside, and I don't know how to live otherwise. And I think we share that. It's either burning inside you or don't touch it, because it's so risky. It's such a difficult life. I'm not being I'm not victimizing. I'm not self-victimizing here. I'm not a victim, but it is high prices to be paid when you are an outspoken artist. This is not. We don't live in a reality that really accepts that.
I totally agree with everything that Mira said. I'd like to maybe add on that a little. I have a slightly different point of view in the sense that I feel, for me personally, I do agree that it's a personal thing. It's either burning inside you, it needs to be said, or it isn't. There are people that just don't, it's not in there, they don't get up in the morning and think what's going on with the world. Right. They think about what's going on in their own space, and that's the way they are. I'm not able to function like that, as Mira is not, and others as well. For me, being this way, being outspoken, being involved in the world is a source of great joy. It's a great joy because I know that there is unity between my heart, my mind, my mouth, my spirit, my opinions. I don't go around thinking, oh, I'm hiding something. Oh, I'm suppressing something. I don't live in fear. I'm a fearless person. And I know that there are prices to be paid, but I know, and this may sound like a cliche, but I'm sure of its truth, that the price for speaking out is high. This price of silence is much higher.
Oh, for sure.
And it's higher in your own soul, when you feel that you're cheating, that you're suppressing, that you knew it but you didn't say it, that maybe if you would have said things would be different. That's in your own soul. And there's a historic price to pay, as history has shown us again and again and again, when individuals and nations and populations have been silent in the face of horrible injustice, and we know where that has led us. So for me, that's joy, that unity, that purity of mind and spirit, and connected to art is great joy. Now, as for the others, I'm sad. What can I say? I'm sad. It makes me very sad that there are not more artists who are willing to take a stand, especially when you see what's going on in Israel today. And the situation in Israel, as you probably know, is critical and getting more and more critical by the moment. And even if we put aside the Palestinian Israeli situation and everything, we're talking about a government situation, a social situation with the coronavirus and the government, and everything that is just, we could theoretically be on the verge of collapse of all of our systems. Now, and look, there are no concerts right now, not only because of Corona, also because of the terrible mismanagement of the coronavirus by our own government. We could have probably found more clever solutions. There could have been more trust within the population for the government's suggestions and solutions. Everything could have looked differently, but that's not the situation. And why? So you think maybe now the artist will come out and speak, because there's such a large, I think, consensus, almost, not totally, but a wide consensus, is that there is a problem here, and this problem needs to be addressed. And even in this situation, you will find almost zero artists raising their voice. And for me, that is sad. That is sad to the depths of my heart. And I think there is a great deal of blindness within the artistic community as to the role, the importance, and the responsibility of artists in the well-being of the entire society, which of course totally comes back to you. When there's a healthy society with freedoms and with justice, then you, the artist, can do your thing within that society. Otherwise, you just can't. And it's sometimes beyond me how people. But I don't preach to artists, just like Mira. I just don't. Guys, if you don't see it, if you don't understand it,
Exactly.
if it doesn't burn in you, if you're not aware of it, then I can't help you. But I will continue doing it with my colleagues, with my friends who believe in that, in the best way we can.
I would like to add two words
Wait
about
a second.
this.
What? Sorry? Liam?
Yeah, you go Gil, and then I've got just one small thing before we go to some more music.
Okay, I would just say one sentence. You know, all artists who you know about are leaders because there are people watching them and following them. Even the verb following, the followers, that makes the artist a kind of a shepherd, a kind of a leader. And that means responsibility. Otherwise, you have the attitude of a fish in a fishbowl. You're saying, okay, I'm just swimming in my fishbowl and some weird creatures are, around there looking through the glass and watching me do my thing. That means I assume no responsibility on my followers. And I think artists, whether they want it or not, it's like once you have children, that's it. You have a responsibility. And I think an artist has a responsibility. And therefore, if they don't say anything and don't voice their opinions, it's an act of irresponsibility, and one day it catches on to them.
Well, they do voice their opinions on what pants to wear or what jackets.
Exactly. On color of their
That's
lipstick
also
is
something.
very important.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, you get the point, Liam, or all of our friends at NIF.
Sorry.
You get the point.
Go to another set of music, and one song that you are going to play is the song that you collaborated on and presented at Eurovision. But just before that, if you can say just a few sentences maybe, because I'm interested to hear how your collaboration is received, or whether your collaboration is received differently inside of Israel and outside of Israel, and for that matter in a kind of Jewish community setting like maybe you are in now, versus on a really truly global scale like at Eurovision. And how do people react, and is it different?
I'd like to say, I have not encountered an audience anywhere in the world who was not blown away by both of us standing on stage. Really. Be it in Israel, we had a beautiful concert in Akko. Remember that was just recently with an incredible audience that was excited. Yeah, there were some voices that sang, but there are voices like that everywhere, all over the world, by the way, and in Jewish communities and in non-Jewish communities and everywhere. I think that when people are faced, when they encounter this face-to-face, the energy that comes out of something like this, they cannot be oblivious to it. They cannot. They have to admit that it's beautiful, that it's touching, that it's moving, that it's real, and in that there is this great power. And we will get, as you said, to the Eurovision song. I mean, Mira and I got such an incredible amount of reactions from people from all over the world, from young people in Arab countries, from Europeans, Americans, Israelis, and especially young people that were so encouraged and excited about the kind of thing that we were doing. And that was our greatest reward. We didn't have to win that contest. It was enough to be able to just be there with our thing and say, and we did it in a way, the song There Must Be Another Way is not a peace song per se. It's not, as our friend Paolo would say, a kumbaya song. It's not a peace and love song. No, it's actually quite a painful song. And it is saying that, guys, we're not going to be here to writing the contracts and whatever, but we know that there must be another way. And that's one. And second, it's talking about shared pain, which is a huge subject for us. Both of us are involved in organizations like the Parents Circle, like Combatants for Peace, where basically the idea is that nobody has a monopoly on pain, sorrow, suffering, on feeling the victim, on huge irreparable loss, and nobody has a monopoly on that. And the sooner we are able to recognize the other's pain and cry together, the sooner we can pave the way to rejoicing together and building shared society in a more viable way. That's what those are the messages behind these songs. But the first one we're going to do is "Will You Dance With Me," which again, in a waltz, a nice little waltzy way, has all those important messages.
It's a waltz on the
in
other
there.
way.
It's a what? It's a waltz about the way. בואי לרקוד איתי מול ירח, בואי לרוץ איתי על החוף, בואי לרקוד איתי הרחוב שומם, counting 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, you and me עד בלי סוף.
أهر بي معين الخطر، تخبي عندي من المطر، ورقصي معي والبلد نعسان نبقى 1 2 3 2 2 3 you and me والقمر.
Will you dance with me through the years as the seasons twirl and die?
Will you dance with me through the fears as the days pass quickly?
Much too quickly,
Much too quickly.
1 2 3 2 2 3 you and me still alive.
يد بيد نروت الأفق
נדבר על החלם المفقود, הן כאבנו כבר את אשר עבר.
قولي 1 2 3 2 2 3 you and me عنا وعود.
עם ימי הסתיו והכפור את פנינו משנים.
התרצי לרקוד אל האור
שיזרח עלינו
ינוער עלינה
עד כלותינו. 1 2 3 2 2 3 you and me still alive. La 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 la, la la la, ya la la ya la, la la ya la ya la la, la 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 la, la 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 ya la la ya la la la. Will you dance with me through the years as the seasons twirl and die?
Will you dance with me through the fears as the days pass quickly?
Much too quickly,
Much too quickly.
1 2 3 2 2 3 you and me still alive. 1 2 3 2 2 3 you and me still alive. 1 2 3 2 2 3 you and me still alive. Will you dance with me? Fun. Okay, there must be another one. עינייך אחות, כל מה שליבי מבקש אומרות. עברנו עד כה דרך ארוכה, דרך כה קשה, יד ביד והדמעות הורגות צומות לשווא. כאב ללא שם, אנחנו מחכות רק ליום שיבוא אחרי. There must be another way, there must be another way.
عينك بتقول رح يجي يوم وكل الخوف يزول. بعينك اصرار انه عنا خيار نكمل هالمسار مهما طال، لانه ما في عنوان وحيد للاحزان بنادي للمدى للسما العنيد. There must be another way, there must be another way, there must be another way. דרך ארוכה נעבור, דרך כה קשה, יחד אל האור. عينك بتقول كل الخوف يزول. And I cry for both. ללא שם. אנחנו מחכות רק ליום שיבוא אחרי. There must be another way. There must be another way. There must be another way.
Yes, there must be.
Thank you, Israel. 12 points from Australia.
I mean, that's what happens.
I want to say something though,
Huge in
Liam. Are
Australia.
you there, Liam? Liam?
I am. I hope you can hear me.
Liam,
Eurovision's
lost
huge in
Liam.
Australia
We've
these
lost him.
days.
Hello?
We love Eurovision, so it's
Wait.
you know, I think, yeah. Go for it. Go for it.
Funny anecdote. Mira and I did like 1 million interviews in Moscow with many, many different TV stations and journalists from around the world. And, come all dressed up and sit there and the journalists would like storm on us. And immediately the Arab journalist would come to me and speak Arabic and go to her and speak English, assuming that I was the Palestinian, obviously, because I look Arabic being from a Yemenite family, and she looks, well, I don't know, she could be from anywhere, gorgeous in general.
Bulgarian, I
and
look
so
Bulgarian.
we managed to confuse people. And sort
Which
of like,
is what we do ever
which
since.
is what we've
We
been
love
doing.
it.
That's right. We confuse people. We just want to sort of shift them from their comfort zones and sort of rattle them a little bit and enable them to maybe see things, to Rubik's Cube their states of mind for a while and see things differently, which is the idea.
Well, so that's a great segue into my next kind of couple of questions, which are about the macro and is about the political situation in Israel and the partnership that exists between Jewish Israelis and Palestinian Israelis. What will it take to transition and to kind of shake up that Rubik's Cube, like you say? What will it take to get, Jews to think of Arabs as political partners in Israel in the way that, seem to come a little bit close in some of the recent coalition negotiations and then obviously didn't happen? What will it take to shake that up and for the kind of things to get a little bit better, at least in those relationships between Jewish and Arab Israeli citizens?
Well, I'm gonna
Small
start.
question.
I'm gonna start from not from the big levels, but from the small levels. I think people have to meet each other first of all. We have to make opportunities, more and more opportunities for people to meet. Do you know that most Israeli youth do not meet an Arab youth before they're 18 and they stand at the checkpoints? That's dangerous, and that's not a place to meet a person. That's a place to meet a threat. So I want them to meet before that. I want them to mix before that. I want them to meet within the school years. I want them to meet in projects, in camps, in vacation camps, whatever, to do in football teams, whatever can be done to mix children and meet each other in an earlier age, so they can meet the people and families and teachers from the other side, and not just meet them when it's a threat. That's first of all. Of course, on the leadership arena, I'm hoping that little by little, if within the people there are shifts, then it will call upon a different kind of leadership and put them under pressure to just end this already, to find a way to end the conflict but what the third thing that I want to add is that we have to empower voices in any which way that we can. We have to empower voices of artists, of young people who want to change things, who want to collaborate, who want to find another solution, a way to live here in a shared society. We have to fight to empower these people and not keep them in the light of the ones struggling then failing, because then it doesn't create a movement. When we see, I don't know, just one artist or two artists fighting the fight and then being bashed by the audiences or not being successful economically, financially, because they're losing the battle. So other artists are not going to be empowered by that to do the same. So we have to kind of find the people that we need to empower in any which way we have to, which is young leaders, artists, politicians, I hope one day. And we need to find to locate these future people and give them the power. How do we do that? Well, with your help.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I second everything that Mira said, and I'll also say. So first of all, Mira and I, this song of ours, "There Must Be Another Way," I have to say, has been the source of endless collaborations between Arab and Jewish and youth. Even just recently, we had a beautiful project come our way, and it's been 10 years now, since we've done this, the Eurovision. More than 10 years, 11 years. And just last week, we received a beautiful video made by high school students from the Ort school network, where they have projects between Arab and Israeli youth, and they took the song "There Must Be Another Way" and they created a video where they hold up signs with the words in English,
Both
Hebrew, and
languages,
Arabic. Yeah, and they made a little video and they used all kinds of video techniques. It's very, very cool. I actually put it on Facebook and I put it on Instagram, on my page, so you can take a look if you want. It's so nice. And we've been invited to visit schools where Arab and Jewish kids are learning this song. So we're very proud of that. There are many programs in Israel for that. Not enough, but there are many. And yes, this is what Mira was saying. This is something that NIF should definitely, I think, focus on. Focus on finding these programs, financing them, helping them grow bigger and bigger, pushing, giving them the place to grow, because it's extremely important that young people meet young Arab people, not, as Mira said, at the checkpoint for the first time. Politically, I think that and another thing I want to say, the coronavirus. Corona struggle has brought this question again to the forefront, because as we all know, about 90% of the pharmacists in Israel are Arab, Palestinian. Huge amount of doctors and nurses and caregivers and ambulance drivers and emergency caregivers are Palestinians, Israeli citizens. And so all of a sudden you see that in times of crisis, everybody pitches in and everybody is part of the same human fiber that is suffering and that is helping to cure the suffering. And that was spoken about, and that was a very encouraging thing for me. And the third thing is just looking at Ayman Odeh and the Reshima Mishutefet, as we say, their achievements have been incredible. I mean, I don't think that any Arab-Israeli politician has reached this level of just getting people out to vote,
yes.
and getting an influence and also support from the Israel, not all of the Israeli population, but from a great number of Jewish Israelis, looking at this political party and saying, wow, these are definitely potential partners for us. We're getting there. I'm telling you, we should look at the positive side, and things could definitely shift with the next election. We just have to keep believing. It's hard work, but as Mira said, we have to empower the people who are courageous enough to speak. We have to keep positive and keep pushing, keep active. The worst thing that can happen is to fall into despair and to think this is never going to work. There's nothing for us to do. We're never going to get there. No. Falling into despair is just throwing in the towel. Then we might, the people of Israel have crossed deserts before, and we might just cross them again. I wouldn't want to think of it that way, because I love living here, and I think all of us love this country enough to fight for it. And so let's fight for it. That's the bottom line. We need to fight for it.
Well, that's certainly why we wanted to call this event Shining a Light, because we certainly see the three of you and more generally how important that attitude is to trying to overcome some of these issues. I want to ask a question before we go back to some music, which has come through in the chat from Noah, which she asks, how does language play into cultural and political conflicts? And how do you see bringing Hebrew and Arabic, and for that matter, English together as part of the healing and peace process? And I guess I would ask a layer on top of that, with the nation state law removing Arabic as a national language. How important, and you spoke before about you being a dugma, you being an example to the rest of Israeli society, to show how you can collaborate and you can work together. There is possibility to have this partnership. How much is language at the core of that, showing that Hebrew and Arabic are important languages together in Israel?
I can say from my point of view that it was so sad when Arabic was demoted in the law from an official language to a language with special status or something like that. Instead of making it compulsory to speak both languages fluently for every Israeli, we have demoted Arabic, which is, I think, is just a problem in the vision of this country. It's a hole in the vision of this country, because not only you have 20% of your own population Arabic speakers, you are drowning in a sea of Arabic speakers. And when you don't understand a language, you are threatened by the language. It is the language that is whispered around you and you have no idea what is being said. When you speak a language, doors open up and windows open up, and you can understand what's going on. You can understand a culture through the language. There are no ways to convey a culture without the language. Because I speak perfect Hebrew, I take a glimpse from a very wide window into the Jewish culture and the history and the pains of the Jewish culture and the pains in the Jewish history. So I can actually get a very close look at these things and
Develop empathy.
Develop that empathy. Now, if you don't understand, these windows and doors are closed, you don't understand how Arab people think. What are the metaphors in their lives? It's a different kind of metaphor. It's a different kind of expression, and a lot goes lost in translation. So how is it that this country does not want to speak Arabic? How is it that this country wants to hide the Arabic that is being spoken within it? This is a big crisis, I think, and unless the doors open again for the Arab language, I don't want to be the pessimistic here, but I think this is one of the most important things, is opening the door back into the Arabic, having Israelis speak Arabic, sing Arabic, think in Arabic, then there is real hope for sharing this society, sharing this place.
So I have like two things to say. First of all, we all know that now that we have a sort of a peace agreement with Dubai, and Israelis are now, in plane loads.
When you say
in plane
peace
loads,
agreement with
yeah.
Dubai.
Well, there's a sort of thing going on with Dubai, and so Israelis are just like flocking into Dubai by the hordes of us. There are some that are going there for tourism. Some just want to see what's going on. They're curious. No, my uncle and a group of his friends are going there to vacation. They have no business interest. They just are really curious about what's going on in Dubai. And then my mother is saying, "Mom, when are we going to see Dubai?" It's like Disney Las Vegas. I don't know. And then of course there are the entrepreneurs and there are the business people and blah 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 blah. What I'm saying is that maybe going over there they'll see, maybe it would not be such a bad idea to speak Arabic now that we have opportunities, and not only with the whole painful political mess here, but the whole Arab world. And then maybe they will think that it makes sense to speak Arabic, because maybe all of a sudden it'll be a business language, and then it'll come back and also benefit what's going on here. That's one thing. I know that Gil lives in Jaffa, and he and all his friends are all in Arab courses,
but not only me.
afternoon
it's a
courses.
Huge trend now in Israel.
Yeah.
Biggest ever of people enrolling and studying, learning Arabic in any which way. It's huge now.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
it's a good sign.
You never know.
No
Maybe some
matter
things
what the
that seem
reason is.
odd and weird can be an opportunity, maybe, to shift people's minds in this way or that. So I definitely believe in that, and I would be more optimistic in that sense.
I see an obligation with what I do also in bringing the Arabic language. Not that it's broadcasted widely on radios or whatever, but it is sometimes broadcasted on radios, on TV. I bring my own language. The TV series that I wrote, Muna, is half Arabic, half Hebrew. If I'm not mistaken, we even have more Arabic in the TV series. It was on prime time. Very big deal. So we have even more Arabic than Hebrew in the TV on the series, and that's important for me. That's part of what I want to do. I want people to hear Arabic in the living rooms, through music, through a TV series, through whatever. I want them to get familiar to the language and actually maybe be a little bit curious. Okay, and I think it does that work a little bit. I have people who started learning Arabic because of the music. I'm not taking credit for it, but I'm saying it has this influence. People, when they get the chance to be curious about something, then they will make the effort to continue the effort. But we need to help them.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
true. I need to add one point. If you were a stranger from Mars, from another planet, and you would come and you would look at the state of the planet today, you would probably say that the best language to teach your alien children would be the Glinglish or English that goes wide across the internet, the World Wide Web.
Emoji, that would be.
Yeah, well, because obviously it's the most common language for all countries because that's the high tech and the internet and everything. So that means that we can definitely look at one global language, and then in every corner of the globe there is a regional language, and obviously the regional language in our area is Arabic, just as Mira has said. And we can see how well those people that we hear on the radio, the ministers of the Emirate, and all these guys went to Oxford University. They speak English far better than any Israeli, including Benjamin Netanyahu, who's somehow claimed to fame that he speaks English.
The
My
American.
God! But whatever. So then we see that we have a regional language and we have a global language, and then we have a very local cultural language, and I think the formula to look at things is very simple. You have to teach children the three language: their cultural language, their regional language, and the global language. At least that.
Here in
That's
Israel. Here in Israel.
Here in Israel.
As a child who spoke 4 languages until the age of 5, I tell you, it's possible. It's
Because
not-
you have
it's not so hard.
the more the merrier anyway. We all have Duolingo and all those things, and but this is important because the tiny Israel, that is not so tiny anymore, but it's still tiny. I mean, geographically tiny, is obviously predominantly Hebrew. Because there's a majority, demographically, there's a majority of Hebrew speakers. That means that the local culture here is predominantly Hebrew. That does not mean that it has to suppress any other. I mean, that's the whole idea of pluralism, and is to keep the different colors. But obviously, every Arab citizen of Israel has to study Hebrew from day one, as well as his mother tongue at home. And every Israeli Jewish kid has to start on second grade, first grade, whatever, to study Arabic as a second language.
Spoken Arabic.
Spoken Arabic.
Yeah.
And that means that a very simple thing for the solution that goes straight to the heart of the occupation. Because if there's an interest on the Jewish Israeli people, not only Jewish by now, because Mira speaks Hebrew just like I do. And I think when she goes to work, I don't think she translates her head to thinking in Arabic and in Hebrew. She speaks in English, in Hebrew, just as I speak in English when I work with Americans or whatever, or Australians. So the point is, Israel has to keep its population if there is an interest on one corner on the globe for the Hebrew culture with all its offshoots and spin-offs, which Mira has mentioned, including Mahmoud Darwish in Hebrew and all that, it has to be Israel, and it has to separate and let the people who want to live a complete life in Arabic live their life like that. And if they are Palestinians, they must have their place where they can celebrate the complete being Arabs, because so many of them, just like Jews, live in Australia, in Canada, and they know the language of the place where they live, and they live in German and in Germany and in French and in English, but in heart they have this natural language and they have a homeland. The Hebrew does not have a homeland. You can't be a German without Germany in terms of language. It doesn't mean anything. Because so what I'm just saying, one point, what needs a homeland in territorial terms is a language. Because otherwise people can live and enjoy each other everywhere. They can be democratic, pluralistic, and everything is good. But a language needs a territory. Otherwise, it degenerates. And that what happened to the Hebrew. And that's why we need to separate.
I'm very conscious of time as we near the end of our event. So we might throw to our last musical set, and then I have just one question before I wrap up. So I'll leave it to you to play your next couple of songs.
This is these are the last two songs for tonight. This is the first song we collaborated on in the year 2000, the Beatles song that we thought we could give a political twist to, and a little bit of a Middle Eastern vibe. Try to see it my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can't go on? While you see it your way, run the risk of knowing that our love may soon be gone. We gotta work it out. We gotta work it out. Think of what you're saying. You can get it wrong and still you think that it's alright. Think of what I'm saying. We can work it out and get it straight or say goodnight. We gotta work it out. We gotta work it out. Life is very short and there's no time for fussing and fighting, my friend. I have always thought that it's a crime, so I will ask you once again. Try to see it my way. Only time will tell if I am right or I am wrong. While you see it your way, there's a chance that we might fall apart before too long. We gotta work it out. We gotta work it out. Life is very short and there's no time for fussing and fighting, my friend. I have always thought that it's a crime, so I will ask you once again. Try to see it my way. Only time will tell if I am right or I am wrong. While you see it your way, there's a chance that we might fall apart before too long. We gotta work it out. We gotta work it out. We can work it out.
That sounds like Yiddish.
Alright. So this is our kicking into our last song. Woo! Here, my friends, I stand before you, naked, stripped of all pretense. I'm here to say a word or two in the name of love and innocence. It's been a long time they've been out of sight, and I won't live in illusion. There's not much chance that things will change on lonely planet Earth. All that is natural, all that is free, like me loving you and you loving me, like the sweet fruit growing on a tree, like the blood-red coral in the sea, like shaking hands and sharing food and real creative attitude, and a big strong hug, well that feels good, and the miracle of birth. Shalom, shalom, come on, come on. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, 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 salam, salam. Ooh. Salam, 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 salam.
البسيطة هي اللي بتعطينا الأمان. أشياء بسيطة وصغيرة هي هدية الكيان، مثل شمس في كانون، مثل بداية حب جديد، مثل طيارة من ورا، مثل كعك العيد، ورسومات ولاد صغار مخربشة بكل الألوان. هاي الأشياء بتعطيني القوة لواجه هالكيان قبل ما يفوت الأوان، وقبل ما يفوت الأوان. In a language that I know it goes like this. Salam salam, salam salam, salam salam salam, salam salam salam, shalom shalom, shalom shalom, shalom shalom shalom, shalom shalom shalom. Shalom, shalom, come on, come on. Shalom, 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 peace. Shalom, 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 salam, salam, we need it. Salam, 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 salam. So if our strategy is love, don't bite my head off. I said love, you said
Duh, so simple.
yeah, but so easy to miss. So when we come and when we go, the words are peace, goodbye, hello. In a language that we know, it goes like this. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, 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 yeah. Shalom, 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 salam, salam. Salam, 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 salam. Salam, 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 shalom, 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 peace, goodbye, hello. In a language that I know, it goes like this. Shalom, 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 peace, goodbye, hello. In a language you all know, it goes like this. Shalom, shalom, and thank you. Shalom, 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 shalom. Thank you, NIF, for what you do. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Salam, salam. شكرا إلكم. Salam, 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 salam. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Wow.
Cool.
What an amazing amazing couple of songs, and amazing, I guess, all 6 songs a way to bring us into a time, hopefully, of Hanukkah where we can have some optimism and have some hope that thankfully 2020 is coming to an end, and we can start the next year hopefully in a much stronger way. And I wanted to ask, please, as my very last question before we wrap up, is what you look to for optimism. What do you see in the world now and think, I'm confident that we're going to get back onto the right track in Israel or more generally, and say we're going to get through this and end up in a more equal and tolerant society and world?
Well, I'll begin maybe. What makes me optimistic? Biden. At least we got rid of Trump. Biden gives me a hope. Scientists working everywhere for a vaccine and some kind of a, I don't know, medication for coronavirus. But that's I'm sure that everywhere there are lots of very smart people, and wisdom has no borders. There are smart people everywhere, so there's an equal opportunity for every place in every country to come up with a solution. How lovely that is! And it seems that scientists at least don't see borders, and they do exchange information in a wonderful way, and try at least I live in that illusion that the scientific world is working together to try to get us all out of this. I am optimistic when I see that people have been humbled, I think, in many ways by what has happened in the last year. They realize that when you're in a fragile situation and you need help, then you need a family, you need a community, you need people to help you. No man can survive as an island all by him or herself and just spit on the others. And maybe that has encouraged some kind of sense of solidarity in all human beings, and solidarity not only with each other but also with the natural world, which will hopefully carry over after this corona thing is behind us. I'm encouraged by the demonstrations in Israel, which are amazing in my opinion. I have my flags here, my black flag and Israeli flag, and the En Matzav fist, if you can see in the back here. These are the symbols of the protest movement that we're all involved in. I spend a lot of time on bridges and in squares and just in singing and doing our thing. I think it's so important. And I take the kids and anyone who will come along. You know, I think that really encourages me, this kind of uprising. And I think, I think it's important, and I think this is very relevant to NIF also, that sometimes it's difficult to see what the results of your action will be. I mean, when you'll actually see your dreams or your visions coming to fruition. And sometimes it looks hopeful and there's a darkness in that tunnel, but I don't think that that's ever reason not to do, not to act, not to believe, not to push forward into that vision. Back to the image of the olive tree. You know, you plant it, and then someone else will probably enjoy its fruits, but you keep watering, you water it, you cultivate it, and that's the way I think the world has always worked. And I'm proud to be a digger, a planter, a waterer of seeds. There's a beautiful Amos Oz story about the people, the great bonfire in the middle of the city, where one person will write a letter to the authorities, one person will come with a huge truck or whatever, and one person will come with their little spoon. But that little spoon is important. So I think that, we all need to be holding our little spoons right now and placing them on the fire with a great deal of optimism and good energy. That's what I have to say.
Well, I have to be honest and say that optimism to me lately, not only in Corona time, but lately, I mean, I don't know, last few years, has been too much of a privilege. And that's why I substituted the word optimism with the word realism. I'm very realistic. I don't trust the human race. I think we are bound to be bad. Mm-hmm. That's why we need to work on rising above ourselves and evolving to the next level where we know how to share the resources, not only of Israel, Palestine, of this globe, of this, Earth. How can we already grow up from this adolescence that we have been indulged with for so many years, hundreds of years, thousands, millions? Can we evolve and do that last push mentally, spiritually? It needs our minds to evolve and share this place, because it's not the planet that needs saving, it's us. Mm-hmm. And once we understand that, maybe we can finally get down from the tree of megalomania that we have climbed and understand that we're just part of everything and do whatever it takes to share this space. So realism dictates that if I wake up in the morning and I do something about something, then reality might change. If I wake up in the morning and do nothing, of course, nothing's going to change. If I repeat the same action, of course, physics tells us that nothing's going to change. So that's why I've kind of substituted these ideas in my head. And when I hang on to realism, I realize that really in reality, we can change things, and we can each in their own power. Maybe I don't have the same powers as Achinoam right now to go to the bridges and to the protests. Maybe I am a bit more sad than that for now. But I think through a song or through teaching, through talking to youth, to young people, each one of us with their own energies and their own abilities to do the little things that we do in order to change our tomorrow. This is what we need to do. So to me, it's more about realism than optimism. Optimism for now feels like too big of an idea for me. I hope one day I wake up in the morning and I feel more optimistic about the human race in general. I would love that. But for now, I'll stick to realism.
I would say
I think that's wonderful, because I think what that does is provide us a chance to say thank you to both of you to the three of you, I should say, for being part of not only our event tonight with NIF, but for being part of the NIF family and so committed in the way that both of you say to seeing NIF as a path to achieving those things. Whether we are realistic, optimistic, or both, NIF is a path towards a better future. And it's a path that both of you are helping to pave as International Council members and board members, and Gil, of course, is part of the family as well. And we all appreciate the three of you so much being part of our family. And it's important also to speak to everyone at home and to thank everyone for being part of our NIF Australia community. This year, we have done, I think, about 15 or 16 different events. We've had thousands and thousands and thousands of people joining us, which is pretty extraordinary to see all the new people that have come into the NIF Australia community. This event has definitely been the most musical and also the most special for us this year. And it's been wonderful to see how our community has responded, not just to come to events, but also in supporting the work that we're doing on the ground in Israel. Like you said, waking up in the morning saying, I can change the world and make it a better place. And I just wanted to mention two really important things that happened this year directly because of support from NIF Australia donors. One is that refugees and people seeking asylum, many of whom were laid off in the initial lockdowns in Israel, were, working in cafes and hotels. They lost their jobs, and it was the Australian funding through NIF Australia that helped make sure that they could, get humanitarian aid, that they could still put food on the table, feed their families, pay their rent, making sure that a community that would otherwise not have access to the social safety net in Israel could get those things, could get healthcare, all of the most important basics of life. That was funding from NIF Australia. So that's really important. And the second thing is something that is brilliant and more a kind of macro, actually. It was a case run by the Association for Civil Rights in Israel, ACRI, which is NIF's flagship grantee, which ensured that who would otherwise go to the post office to collect their pensions. Obviously, the post office was closed, so it was because of an ACRI petition to court that the government instead mailed out little prepaid debit cards to all the pensioners so that they could put food on the table and they could pay rent. Otherwise, how were they going to access the pension that the government was paying them? So it's little structural things that broke down during the pandemic that because of help from NIF Australia, we were able to get back on track. That's, like you say, Mira, getting up in the morning saying, I can be part of a change and I'm going to make a difference. So powerful. So thank you to everyone at home for being part of that.
I want to tell you two words for NIF. 2 words, NIF. Remember that.
You know what that means in
That's
Hebrew?
true.
Maybe the viewers don't know what that means. NIF. It means there is no
Can't be
fatigue.
quiet.
No, we don't
No
have the
fatigue,
privilege
there you
of falling into a slump or a slumber. We have to keep on guard for human rights and equal rights, just as NIF is doing. So that's
NIF.
beautiful. NIF. Very nice.
I think Gil, you just got a job as our chief marketing officer. So
You just got a job as chief marketing officer.
Copyright.
I'm going to say thank you. We're going to wrap up for the night. Thank you so much to the three of you for joining us.
Thank you.
This was
Chag
such a
Sameach.
special
Happy Hanukkah.
Chag Sameach. Noah and Gil, obviously we had the privilege of having you in Australia in person just a few years ago. I hope it's not that long, Mira, until we can get you on the plane to Australia to join us. So thank you again to everyone for joining us. Wishing you all a wonderful
Toda
evening.
rabba.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Have a
Bye.
good night. Thank you. Thanks. And now I think, right.